The cylinder head and the cylinder block are inspected at the same time. First, check the cylinder head and cylinder block for cracks and damage. If the cooling water level is abnormally low, or if the engine oil is opaque, damaged parts are likely. Check for cracks and other damage visually or with a dye penetrant. Cracks appear as red lines like these. Similarly, check each connecting rod and the crankshaft for cracks and damage. Next, inspect the cylinder head and cylinder block surfaces for deformation. First, measure cylinder head surface warpage on the combustion chamber side at the 6 positions shown, using a thickness gauge and a steel precision straight edge. The maximum permissible warpage is 0.05 millimeters. Also, measure surface warpage on the manifold side. The maximum permissible warpage is 0.10 millimeters. Next, measure cylinder block top surface warpage. The maximum permissible warpage is 0.05 millimeters. For any of these surfaces, if warpage exceeds the specified maximum value, grind to correct it or replace the part. If compression pressure is abnormally low or there is oil loss via the valve guides, the valves must be inspected. First, check each valve face and stem for damage and streaking. Then, measure the overall length of each valve. The minimum permissible length is 90.95 millimeters for the intake valve and 91.40 millimeters for the exhaust valve. Also, measure the outside diameter of each valve stem. The minimum permissible diameter of the stem is 5.930 millimeters for the intake valve and 5.925 millimeters for the exhaust valve. If any of these measurements is smaller than the specified minimum value, replace the valve. Using a caliper gauge, measure the inside diameter of each valve guide stem. This measurement must be taken in 2 directions at a total of 6 positions. The standard inside diameter is 6.01 to 6.03 millimeters. If the measurement exceeds the standard range, replace the valve guide stem. If there are no abnormalities in the valves and valve guide stems, inspect the valve seats. Valve seats should also be inspected after valve replacement. Apply a thin coat of red lead primer to the valve face. Lightly press the valve against the seat. Then check that the seat contact is at the middle of the valve face in a constant width along the entire circumference. The standard contact width is 1.0 to 1.4 millimeters. If the contact width is outside this standard range, correct the valve seat. An abnormal noise, the camshafts must be inspected. This inspection must also be carried out whenever the cylinder head is disassembled for overhaul. First, check each camshaft for circle runout using V-blocks and a dial gauge. Circle runout can be determined from the deflection of the dial gauge. The maximum permissible runout is 0.04 millimeters. If this maximum value is exceeded, replace the camshaft. Next, measure the cam lobe height with a micrometer. The standard height is as shown. If the height is smaller than the minimum permissible value, replace the camshaft.